Welcome back to the Important Nonsense Podcast. 32 teams in 32 days. Today, it's the Detroit Lions.
Woo!
Neil Smith, Jason Draven, Mike Burland back again. Gonna break down, doing what we do, breaking down every NFL roster for you, getting you prepared for the 2023 fantasy football season. Uh, we'll get all the PSAs out of the way on Front Street. This is based on 12-team PPR redraft gods format. All rankings that we are going to provide come as baseline from Fantasy Pros ECR. We are a Fantasy Pros affiliate. Shout out to Fantasy Pros. Thank you for having us. All the depth charts are provided by Player Profiler. Shout out to Jack Kavanaugh. Jack, hope you're well. Today is August the 2nd, so if anything we say is going to sound a little bit dated, that would be why. Tune into the wrap-up show on the 1st of September. It's going to be a live stream. Details to follow. Sign up for our Patreon at fourthwall.com/important nonsense to get access to our Discord, where you can get all of Jason's scorching hot takes and Mike's trade advice blasted into your face whenever the mood strikes you.
It's on fire!
Speaking of blasted into your face,
You're welcome.
we're going to start with Jared Goff. Jason, pull the ripcord for Goff. Do it. Yeah, there you go.
Going hard,
There it
baby.
is.
It's just pulling it every time. We're going over and over. It's the best.
Yeah.
I'm so pumped.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's what it looks like. All
Well,
right.
ripcord
So,
more like this.
yeah, the PG-13 show, gentlemen. PG-13. I'm not helping. I'm not helping. I'm already going to try and send us off the rails deliberately because these are batch recorded and this is one of the last ones for today. Jason, are you going to Jared for Jared, your boyfriend, your historical boyfriend?
I mean, yeah, I'm grabbing him. I have to. The ADP is 115. It's such great value. And for fun, what do you think his start of the schedule looks like? Because if you don't have it, I have it right in front of me. Week 1.
Oh, well, it won't be the Bears in week 1. It would be.
It's a big game.
It's the
Probably
Chiefs, right?
It is the Chiefs.
That's right. It is
Week 1.
the Chiefs. That is the Chiefs week 1. That is correct. I do recall this from the schedule reveal.
Week
Well,
2,
one.
he gets Seattle. Week 3, Atlanta. Week 4,
okay, I
Green
like
Bay. Week
Okay, I like
5,
that too.
Panthers.
Okay, I like
Dude,
that.
For the start of the season, this is
not
the guy
bad.
that you want. I mean,
Not bad.
Then he goes to Tampa, which I'm not super excited about because they usually have a decent defense and want to slow the game down. But it's still, those first 5 weeks makes him so worth it to me in my mind. Like at that cost, I want him on my team. And at the very least, you can package him in that 3rd, 4th week and ship him off with another piece and get something even better.
I will say this is one of those situations where Jared Goff comes in as the QB 16 in the ECR, translates to about 122 overall. You're talking about a 10th round pick at that time. His ADP is 115, as you referenced, so the public is also slightly more bullish on him, and I think we probably know why. Put a fine point on it. It's the volume. This team throws the ball a ton. Jared Goff has never been shy about chucking it around, and he's going to throw some picks. He's going to throw some touchdowns. It's just the way it goes. But it's a pure volume play. I think the bigger thing.
Last year, QB 10.
He was QB 10 on pure volume, not on
talent.
talent.
A ton.
Yeah, pure volume. That is not related to talent. He is not the 10th best QB in the league on pure talent. That is a volume play. And it's also because the Lions got into a ton of shootouts last year. And to be perfectly honest, I think that's going to happen again because they have made some strides, as we will go through on the offense, fixing the offense, but they have really not been able to really fix the defense, especially the secondary. They've done some work in the trenches up front on the defense and in the linebacker room. At least they think they have. We'll see if it pans out. But their secondary is still really poor. So that is the argument for Jared Goff. It's a high volume thing. And I think, Jason, as we discussed yesterday, and actually over the last couple days, really at length, Jared Goff kind of is the last train out of the station. It gets really ugly after this. You're talking about the Russell Wilsons, the Anthony Richardsons, the It's all that schlock that you don't want. Where my argument on yesterday's show was just punt it. If you're down that low, punt it. Go for Kenny Pickett. Go for a Pickett Richardson sandwich. You know what I mean? Somebody will do it. Just stream the position at that point. Like, do something nuts. So I do. It's funny. You know me. We've been doing this for how many years together? God, it's like 4 or 5 years. You know me. I am a Jared Goff hater. I admit this. We were selling shirts to that effect. My argument for that long term was when people were trying to tell me that Jared Goff was a top 5 potential quarterback, like that he was the reason the Rams were good and all that fun stuff. When I can get Jared Goff as QB 16, yeah, I don't care anymore. That's fine. Like, you're not trying to sell me this bill. This is my whole Tyler Boyd thing from years gone by. When you're telling me that Tyler Boyd is a top 15 wide receiver, I'm going to tell you you're insane. When you're telling me that Tyler Boyd is in the top 40, yeah, sure. It's the same thing with Goff. If Goff is in the top 20 and he's in that bottom 16 to 20 range, yeah, sounds about right. And it's priced accordingly, yeah, sure. It's not going to blow you away. I don't know that he's going to return top 10 value, which I know is what you're hoping for. But I don't need him to.
Those first 5 weeks.
Fine, but I don't need him to, is my point. If I get that, that's all gravy. And even if he doesn't, sure. That's why I'm fine with like a Goff. I keep saying Richardson. But I don't want to keep going with Richardson because that's boring. Richardson would be logical, but what?
Howell?
Yeah, Howell's too low because you could stream it. I'd say if you want to get like a Goff, like, I don't really necessarily believe it. We'll talk about it tomorrow, but like a Goff love stack or like a Goff, I don't really like Pickett either, but a Goff Pickett stack. That's why Goff Richardson is the one that makes the most sense, because you're pairing it with a raw, untested product. You're getting something that you know what it is and you feel like you can trust it. So you pair it with something that has a ton of upside. That's the argument for that. But I think that's kind of where, or I tell you what, or we'll go another way. Goff Kyler.
Yeah.
So you can wait for Kyler to come back and you can roll Goff in the meantime. Because as you said, he has a good opening to the schedule. Hell, you might be able to trade him, you know? Like, it's this year, begrudgingly, you and I are going to be on the same wavelength with this. At the current ADP and price tag, I do find myself with a number of Jared Goff shares because I'm not being asked to pay for a premium. And also, in this crazy year of inflated quarterback ADPs, Goff in the 10th round kind of makes sense. It's before the cliff. Mike, do you have any enthusiasm for this? Do you have any?
Yeah. No, I'm right there with you guys. And you might even be able to get him later depending on how your league drafts, because he is QB 16. So everyone theoretically has their quarterback by then. And so unless your teams are taking backup quarterbacks also in round 10.
In expert leagues, that won't happen, but in your home league, it will. In your home league, it will, though.
It definitely will. So, yeah, exactly. But you could maybe get like 11th, 12th round.
That's right. That's right. Jason hates the common folk. You heard it here first. Jason hates the normies.
I don't like people who take 2 quarterbacks in a 1 quarterback league.
He's
making I can't stream
career talking to normal people on the Fantasy Life app. He hates the normies. Good. I'm glad we've nailed this to the wall. I'm glad we've established that. That's good. That's good.
I do have one concern with Goff is I'm right there with you, Neil, in that, like, I think he needs the team around him. He needs the Gurley and the defense or the Detroit offensive line. And what happens if their number 1 receiver, Amon-Ra St. Brown, goes down? What does this offense look like? Because without Jameson Williams there, I know we're going to get into this later, but with him being suspended, it's like, what is behind St. Brown? I don't know. It just makes me a little worried.
Same stuff they've had for years, man. It's Marvin Jones, it's Josh Reynolds.
Yeah.
And he'll do just enough to be fine.
That's historically accurate. Josh Reynolds plays.
That's in, yeah. Well,
but those guys play when there's a guy like St. Brown, in my opinion. It just makes me a little nervous as to what this team is going to look like if they do. There's just not much behind St. Brown that I'm really into. So That's my only concern. But I mean, again, it's Goff. He's double-digit round guy, so I definitely like him. That's a guy I'm targeting as well.
Yeah, and a huge volume play, just all the volume you could ever want. Speaking of all the volume you could ever want, let's get into running back. There has been some shakeups.
One sec. Backup? Did we say the backup yet?
Oh, sure.
Just
Go ahead.
as a note, it's Nate Sudfeld as the backup quarterback for Jared Goff if there is an injury. Not something you want, but he will be an option if Goff goes down.
Gross.
It will make you sick, but
you got to be digging pretty deep in the bargain bin to get to Nate Sudfeld, even in a 2 QB league.
Tremors DVDs at the bottom. Just pulling those.
Tremors 5. Return to Paradise is what that would be, man. That's not even Tremors 1. Like, you're way past that. Like, Tremors 1 is Tremors 1 would be a masterpiece compared to Nate Sudfeld. Like, holy cow, man. Like, if you want to talk about Tremor, we could do our own stupid show. If you want to talk about all the Tremors movies, I could go in depth with you on those movies are great. So to the younger listening audience, if you've never seen the original Tremors movie, it's highly worth your time. Holds up. It's a fantastic.
It sounds like something that we might have to do for the Discord only people. Is
break down for the fourth wall subscribers. Yeah, we might have to do that. Yeah, we'll break down all the Tremors movies because if you think I'm making up that title for Tremors 5, I am not. That is the actual title for that movie. We could also talk about other B movies that I like the movie Hobgoblins and the works of Rudy Ray Moore. Highly worth watching. There's been some shakeup for those who have been paying attention. Those who have been paying attention will notice that the Lions running back room is not what the Lions running back room has been for the last couple of years. Both DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams are gone, which is crazy because Jamal Williams was the RB12 in fantasy last year. He had a full-on LeGarrette Blount season. And for those of you who don't understand that reference, he scored every 1-yard touchdown
17
you could ever
touchdowns.
Yeah, 17 touchdowns, but 12 of them were from the 1-yard line, which is insane. It's only one other player I've ever seen do it, and it's LeGarrette Blount. And then he was out of the league like 2 years later. Jamal Williams got the bag to go play for the Saints. We'll cover that in a future episode. More power to him. I am a Jamal Williams apologist. That man is a treasure. He is a treasure.
His anime stuff is hysterical. He cracks me up, man.
He is just a delightful human being. His press conferences, his podcasting, he is absolutely hilarious. And just the way he talks and communicates with people is very fun. And so he is now gone after his season, after getting paid $1 billion to go play for the Saints, and good for him. Couldn't have happened to a nicer guy. In his place, the Lions went out and signed free agent running back David Montgomery. The Bears opted to not bring him back because the Bears, frankly, just didn't want to pay him. That's what it boils down to. Questionable decision in my mind, but I'm not the Bears front office, and thank God for that. I wake up every day hitting my knees, thanking God that I don't have that job. So Montgomery comes in, and then keen observers of the draft will notice that the Lions drafted Jahmyr Gibbs at 6 overall. A deeply, deeply baffling decision in my mind. They moved up to do it, to take a running back. All of that was very questionable. I don't think you needed to move up. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense, given the series of events that had to happen for them to get Jahmyr Gibbs. I know they're very high on him, so much so that they were willing to trade DeAndre Swift to the Philadelphia Eagles for a conditional 3rd-round pick. So it's basically they just gave away DeAndre Swift for free. I get the distinct impression that Dan Campbell was done with DeAndre Swift and did not want to deal with him anymore. That seems to be at play with this. And I wish DeAndre Swift well on all of my fantasy teams on a much better offense, playing for a team that's probably trying to go back in the Super Bowl. We'll cover that on a future episode as well. But as it sits right now, Gibbs, the hype train is out of the station. It's careening off a cliff. The train is just out of control. Jahmyr Gibbs, ranked RB16, translates to about 41 overall. His ADP is 36. So the last pick of the third round for a guy who has never taken a snap in the NFL. Theoretically, we think he has the DeAndre Swift role for whatever that was worth. He should be the pass catching back on a high volume offense. He'll be the spell back to David Montgomery. We're going to get into David Montgomery here in a moment. But as it relates to purely to Gibbs, I'm just going to state my position very plainly. At that relative ADP, I will not roster Gibbs, I don't think, in just about any format. Because I think he'll go before that in a lot of leagues. The ADP is misleading in that regard because, as you pointed out with the Broncos yesterday's show, talking about Jerry Jeudy, there's always going to be that guy. There's going to be that guy in your room every time that wants Gibbs in the second round. It's going to happen. You can set your watch by it. That ADP is very misleading that you think that anyone thinks he'll still be available at the end of the third round. So I just don't feel like I'm going to have any Gibbs shares at all this year. Where do you guys land on that topic?
Yeah, it's too rich for my blood, so I'm definitely out on them. But I just, because of that cost, I can't see myself grabbing him.
Yeah, I'm probably in the same boat. I don't hate it maybe as much as you guys.
I didn't say I hated it. I just don't think you're going to get him at the end of the third round. I think you're going to have to put up a second round pick for it. And at that price point, I'm just done.
Yeah. I mean, ideally, I think, I'd take him. I'd take a shot on him mid fourth, late fourth. But, he's going as RB16. Last year, DeAndre Swift, which I think surprises a lot of people, was RB16 in points per game.
Yep.
So I think there's a good chance, like, if they're going to want to, they took a first round running back, right? They're going to want to use the guy. I think he could get 150 carries. I think that's kind of, wishful thinking maybe.
Boy,
but
I think that's the ultimate rose-colored spectacles scenario for that.
Yeah, I could see it happen just because they've invested so much in him, and this is their guy, right? Whether or not it's basically like a DeAndre Swift clone, we don't know yet. And I just think we're going to get into it. There's not much behind Amon-Ra St. Brown and these pass catchers that I'm super excited about. So, like, maybe Gibbs becomes that guy, the second option in this team, or the third option in this team. So I don't hate it. But I'd like to get it half around, 10, 12 picks later or something. So.
Here's my counter argument to you. Gibbs is there for 4 years. I understand that he's their guy. Why would you not leverage the disposable battering ram that you just paid for in David Montgomery? And when you break down their offense, you are absolutely spot on. I was going to bring it up myself, the whole narrative that Swift had a bad season. He had an injury-plagued season. He didn't have a bad season when he was actually on the field. He was actually very efficient. But the narrative is that he had a bad year because he was beefing with Dan Campbell, and his usage was all over the play. It was all over the road, and he was hurt, and then he was healthy. But when the fact is, when he was on the field, he was very efficient, and he was being used. I think Gibbs is going to have a very similar role to that, but he's going to be sharing that with David Montgomery, which we saw. David Montgomery is going to have the Jamal Williams role, where he's going to do all the dirty work. All the between the tackles running, for the most part, is going to be coming off David Montgomery. The majority of the red zone running will be coming off David Montgomery. David Montgomery is a superior player to Jamal Williams in just about every category. He's a better pass catcher also. I am not convinced that this is going to be as cut and dry as what people want it to be, where it's Gibbs is the change of pace back and the third down back, and he gets all the pass catching work, and Montgomery is just the battering ram. I don't think it's going to work that way. I think it's going to be a lot more like the split we saw last year, because one of the things about Gibbs is they're not going to try to get him killed. Why? What's their incentive to get him killed? Especially when you know that you're going to have this guy for the haul. You just drafted him. What you want to get? You want to break his shoulder like right out of the box? I doubt it. It's probably more likely to me. Now, the one thing I will concede to you is he is going to catch a ton of passes. Like 150 carries, I think is high. To be perfectly honest,
I think it is.
But
I think it's high too.
If you want to talk about why the reason to get excited, how many targets do you think he gets?
I mean, geez, I think he catches 60 passes, and I think he gets 75 plus targets, 80 targets. So that's why I think 2 running backs can easily flourish in this offense. The offensive line.
I'm not 100% convinced he's going to get. I think he'll get.
Look at Swift.
I think he'll get 60 targets. Call it 43 to 45 catches.
I mean, Swift was on pace for 60 last year. I'm pretty sure. 65.
Targets or catches?
Catches. He had 48 catches in 14 games, so that's like a 3.5 a game. So, I mean,
I think some of that might have to do with the fact that Jamal Williams couldn't catch. Yeah. Even if I threw it to him underhand, he couldn't catch it.
I do agree, but I also think, again, I'm not very excited about I don't know who's the number 2 option on this Lions team with Jameson Williams being out.
Pass catcher? You talking about?
Pass catcher, yeah.
Oh, it's probably Gibbs or Josh Reynolds. It's one or the other.
Yeah. So
maybe Marvin Jones if he's actually healthy, but that's a big if.
Yeah. I can see 60 catches. I wouldn't be shocked. It's 3.5 a game,
All right. So it sounds like you're a little more bullish than I am for sure. Jason, what do you want to do with any of this information? Are you swayed by this, or are you kind of going to stay away from the current Jahmyr Gibbs price tag?
Yeah, I already said I wasn't in on it, and I mean, I get wanting that upside because he has it. If he's explosive, he could very easily be that.
Hey man, there was a reason DeAndre Swift was a second round pick when he was on the same team with the same job. Okay, I get. I'm not.
I understand why it's there.
I'm not blind to it. I'm
just saying the important part of it is
DeAndre Swift never actually returned value on that second round pick when he was being taken there at any point. So what leads me to believe that this will be different is what scares me.
I much rather go with David Montgomery because like you have touched on, Jamal Williams. I think he is an improvement on that player and can fill that role as well as some of Swift's role. And so it makes it a lot more sense, especially at his ADP as compared to Gibbs. So
let's do that real quick. So David Montgomery, RB 27 translates to about 67 overall. His ADP is 75. I wind up with a ton of David Montgomery shares. And you could make the argument, Neil, you're a bitter Bears fan and you love David Montgomery. And you know what? You're not even wrong. You're not even wrong. That's how you sound, by the way. Like the people that want to make that argument to me. But
the other argument is he got paid.
Yeah, he got paid.
That's
he got paid. And David Montgomery's a better player. And David Montgomery's going to get all the red zone work and all the between the tackles rushing work and all the middle of the field stuff. And he's going to catch more passes than Jamal Williams. This is one of the steals of 2023. This is my argument, is that David Montgomery is one of the extreme running back values that you can get in 2023. There is no reason that guy should be going in the 6th round. No reason. He's going for the same relative price point that James Cook is going for.
Yeah, no.
That's the same. Are you serious?
Yeah.
I went on a glowing soliloquy about what I think of James Cook in the Buffalo Bills show. I like James Cook quite a bit, folks. Go listen to the show. David Montgomery blows him out of the water. David Montgomery should be a 4th round pick. You get him in the 6th? I get a lot of David Montgomery shares. This is one where in an expert league, you probably won't get him in the 6th round. In your home league, I bet you do. Because people are going to have them blinders on. They're going to have that Gibbs hype train. Nobody's going to be paying attention to David Montgomery. David Montgomery could be a guy that helps you win your league. And I say this as somebody who won multiple leagues last year because of Jamal Williams. Now, granted, I wish it was an 8th round pick like Jamal Williams was. That was the steal of a lifetime because nobody was paying attention. But this is you got to pay for this a little bit more. 2 rounds? I don't care. And I'm not, and here's the beautiful part about it. I don't need him to have that Jamal Williams 17 touchdown, 12 1-yard touchdown season to return value in the 6th round. I don't. Well, you want to play a name game? We'll play a name game real quick. We'll illustrate this point that way. Okay. Let's get it pulled up. David Montgomery or Isaiah Pacheco? Functionally the same IDP.
It's not even a question.
No, it's not. Shouldn't be. We already did David Montgomery and James Cook. Same relative ADP. David Montgomery, Antonio Gibson, same ADP. One of these
Montgomery.
things is not like the other because one of these things is good. David Montgomery or Javonte Williams? Ooh, that's a thinker.
Montgomery.
That's a thinker.
Yeah, I'd still take
That's
Montgomery.
That's a thinker, though. But that's a thinker. Like, you got to think
It
about
is,
that.
for sure.
Montgomery or DeAndre Swift?
Still have Montgomery.
All right. See what I'm saying? It's a little bit of a thinker, though. You got to think about that a little bit. You got to think about some of the other ones are Montgomery or A.J. Dillon.
Oh,
Montgomery.
Montgomery.
You see my point?
Yeah.
There's no reason David Montgomery should be in that round, in that tier. Montgomery should be up with the
Yeah, but
Dameon
stop saying
Pierce's.
people will actually do that. And
I know this is my problem. Is I'm talking. I'm actually screwing myself really
Yeah,
aggressively.
why do we have to do this? We have
like
to do this to let
we're
people know.
contractually obligated, so that's actually the problem. Is that
Lame.
we're contractually obligated to do this and to be honest about it. But in my opinion, Montgomery should be up in the tier above with your Dameon Pierce's, Alexander Madison's. That's where he should live.
Those guys. Yeah.
What's that? I know, right?
I'd take
Okay.
both of them.
Him or
honestly.
Rashad White?
Montgomery.
That's close for me because I think White's going to catch a million balls. You're talking about Gibbs catching 60 balls. I think White very easily could do that too. Who else? What's his competition? Freaking nothing. Like,
yeah.
what? Okay, you want to
those-
play? We'll play this game a little longer.
Connor?
I was gonna, you beat me to it. James Conner. I'd rather have Connor.
I like
I want
Connor.
Connor. I'd prefer Connor.
Just because of the full workload.
Full
That's
workload,
the real
bad
separator.
team, really bad team, no volume pass. It's gonna be Connor. What about Cam Akers? I'd rather have Montgomery. I don't trust Cam Akers. Never have, never will. Same thing with J.K. Dobbins. I think J.K. Dobbins is being hugely overdrafted. We covered that in the Baltimore show. Especially now
I've
that
never trusted Dobbins. So
Especially now that Dobbins is threatening to hold out because he has no concept of money.
or value.
Or anything. What about Miles Sanders? I might take. I hate Miles Sanders, and I might take Miles Sanders just because of the volume.
I think
I
you
like
know
him.
where I lie on this one.
Yeah,
You
I
have
think
the
that's
top
probably
five,
the
right?
Mendoza line. But we're talking about RB27 currently, David Montgomery. We got as high as RB18, 19 before we started having real issues.
Yeah, I have him at 15.
My point is, this is one of the extreme values of 2023. Nobody's paying attention to this. So in your home league, this is one of those picks where everybody's going to be like, oh, whatever. It's the backup running back in Detroit. Man, who cares? I'd be pulling the ripcord. Pulling the ripcord. That's 100% what we're doing over here. Like, David Montgomery versus Antonio Gibson. Some of you people are on crack. Like, that is a crack addict's reasoning is what that is. And I will defend that in court. Do you think that would be slander? It's not. It's not. Like, I will defend. My lawyer could be drunk and I will win this case. I could be my own lawyer and drunk and win this case. Like, that's how. This is one of my like flag plants, if you can't tell, for the year where I will die on this hill. It's the James Conner hill and the David Montgomery hill. I'll die here. Like, if this blows up in my face, I regret nothing. Nothing. My analysis was correct.
Biggest thing is he got such a huge upgrade of his team, of his offensive line, and he's always been a top 24 guy. I think he had like a top 5 season as well.
That's an outlier. No one's going to suggest he's going to get back to that.
No.
The volume's not going to be there, but
unless they score 20 touchdowns or something. But
yeah, and good luck. I mean, hell,
yeah, but he got a huge. He just upgraded like to a Cadillac, right? Like the guy. Yeah.
He was driving a Prius, and he went up to an Escalade.
Yeah,
like that's what it is, and it's like nobody cares. Nobody cares. Everybody just wants to talk about Jahmyr Gibbs, and I'm like, that's fine. Y'all do that. Y'all have a great time. Enjoy it. Go nuts. Knock yourself out. Go crazy. There's nothing else to note in the running back room as well. Those are the 2 running backs you need to know. There's no handcuff. Justin Jackson doesn't matter. I'm not even convinced he makes the team. Craig Reynolds.
I do love Justin Jackson.
I'm sorry. I forgot
he's
who
above Reynolds.
I forgot. I forgot who I'm talking to. For a second.
Yeah, rude.
Yeah, I forgot who I'm speaking to. I stand by it. Justin Jackson doesn't matter.
Craig Reynolds
I'll double
matter.
down. I'll double down. That's fine. And then Craig Reynolds really does. If Justin Jackson doesn't matter, Craig Reynolds is like not even relevant at all. At least Justin Jackson has had limited success in the NFL. On the
Lions.
That's actually true. And on the Lions.
You're welcome.
Animal Alliance. That is fair. No, I got to concede that to you. I was pulling my hair out about that last year. It was really annoying. It was deeply, deeply annoying.
Extremely frustrating. That's for sure.
I blocked that out, actually. Like, my brain blocked all of that out to protect itself because I had so many shares of both Williams and Swift that when Justin Jackson was getting carries, it was like,
Stop
you know,
it.
like,
why are you doing it?
you know, like in the movies when like they flashbang somebody in like an action movie and you get that like, that's what was happening in my head. Like just that, like my brain can't process it. So it's just like, just shutting down.
When that starts
I
to happen,
forgot all
open your
about that.
mouth.
Yeah. But like Greg Reynolds, I can't even talk anymore. Craig Reynolds does not matter. Justin Jackson does, at least on the fringes of peripheral matter. If there was an injury, it's not draftable, but if there was an injury, Justin Jackson would get on the field and likely
he would be a waiver wire ad immediately.
He'd be a guy. He would be a guy. I'll give you that. Let's talk about wide receiver. We've beaten this topic to death, and I appreciate everybody hanging in there with me because this is that's one of the few things I'm very passionate about for this year. The wide receiver room is, as much as the running back room is totally different for the most part, the wide receiver room is the same. It's Amon-Ra St. Brown. Hey, Amon-Ra St. Brown is good at football. Who's been telling you that for the last 3 years? Like, that guy's good. You saw it in college. If anybody bothered to watch it, he can fly. He's a very good route runner, and very good in and out of his breaks. Very hard to cover. Jameson Williams, who I'm less enthused about, although which is weird because he's got like all the pedigree in the world, and we just haven't seen it yet. Jameson Williams is still there, year 2. Marvin Jones, the aforementioned Marvin Jones. Yes, that Marvin Jones, 34-year-old Marvin Jones, who's been knocking around the league for most of my adult life, is still on this team. This is like when I saw John Smoke Brown was still on the Bills, and I'm like, what? How is that possible? Like, that can't be right. What are you smiling at, Devery Henderson? This is Mr. Deep Cuts over here. And then they still have Josh Reynolds, Josh Reynolds has slowly made a believer out of me. I used to believe he was just a guy, just a body. Last couple of years, he's kind of made me believe he's a little better than that. And then
he
Khalif
can
Raymond,
step into that role for sure. Yeah.
Well, and then Khalif Raymond, who is just a guy, like definitively is just a guy. Like he's an NFL athlete. That's Josh Reynolds.
He's fast.
He is fast. Josh Reynolds is faster, and a better route runner, better hands, more attractive, handsomer.
Better body position.
Yeah, all of it. Really everything like that you could want. I'm going to let you guys go through. I've said my piece on this show about Amon-Ra St. Brown for a billion years. I love him. He is fantastic. He's this year, wide receiver 9, translates to 19 overall. His ADP is 19. My only note on Amon-Ra St. Brown is, you know what you're getting. He's an excellent football player. He is a fantastic player on a team that is going to throw. He is Jared Goff's Bay. He is. Am I using that right, Jason? You're down with the kids. Am I using the slang correctly?
That works,
I don't
yeah.
know. Okay, good enough. He's the first, second, and third target historically for Jared Goff. That's just who he's looking at, and it pays him off. Amon-Ra St. Brown feasts on this team, and he has the talent to turn it into huge fantasy production. No notes. Please make more. Love it. My one note on this year is, because of the weirdness surrounding wide receiver getting elevated in the expert consensus and this kind of being, the year of the wide receiver, Amon-Ra is going at full face value. This is sticker price. It's going to be really hard for him to get higher up than this. It's going to be challenging for him to really do better than what he's projected to, as in 19 overall, wide receiver 9. If you're talking about wide receiver 19, see, last year he was the wide receiver 18. He didn't play a full season. But that is where I'm comfortable, because that means if he could get to the wide receiver 9. When you're drafting him at wide receiver 9, you're okay. So what does that mean then? Somebody has to get hurt. Like, how's he going to get higher than that when he already has elite level volume, elite level on a team that throws? What were they, Jason? You might know offhand. The second or third most pass happy team in the league last year, or something like that.
Yeah, they threw a lot.
Like they're going to throw a lot again because they're going to be in a lot of shootouts. Just know that to me, this is the absolute. You're drafting Amon-Ra St. Brown like at the ceiling. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying know what you're getting into, especially when you're talking about a guy that historically doesn't really play the full season. He plays 14, 15 games. Anybody who wants to talk me off the ledge. Tell me I'm wrong. Please help me help myself.
He's
It's up to you, man.
Yeah, he has only missed one game, if I'm reading this right, in his career. I think he kind of played a game and then didn't really play a game.
He gets hurt in the game. He starts it and then leaves, and then that's more what I mean.
Yeah. I guess I kind of agree with you. You're drafting him at like his peak. The only way he kind of breaks in there is if he has like a spike touchdown kind of year, which you can never really predict touchdowns. And he doesn't really. He's not that prototype of a guy who's going to catch double-digit touchdowns. But
on that same point, last year, I mean, 13 or 14 rushing touchdowns from the one for Jamal Williams. If that actually converts, it could actually lead to, I don't know, 7 more. So he's at 13 touchdowns this year.
Half of those were, I think it was like Jared Goff had like 7 passes where they were tackled at the one, and like 6 of them turned into those Jamal Williams touchdowns. So yeah, I don't know if St. Brown was the guy that was being tackled or not. So yeah, I agree. There is that chance he can get to that double digit, and I guess that's what you're kind of banking on. If maybe he can get to that 9 or 10 touchdowns and keeps his 100+ catches, and he's the main guy. I mean, there's the safety part of it too, I guess, that you're kind of baking into the ADP a little bit of you feel safe with Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Yeah, and one out of every 4 targets is going to him. I mean, that's kind of what he's that 25% target share guy that you just love, and
that's what you hang your hat on.
Yeah, and they throw the ball. I mean, last year they threw the ball 588 times, so that doesn't suck to see. About 150 targets. That's pretty nice.
You'll take it. So
and if he can convert more touchdowns,
that's the only, to your guys' point. That's the only realistic way he could get higher than what his ADP currently is. So just know what you're getting yourself into. I'm not saying don't do it. I couldn't sit here and say that at 19 overall I wouldn't be considering taking him. I'd be lying to you. But just know that like that's the apex of what you're probably going to get. So just be aware of that. And then Jameson Williams is one of the most polarizing figures in the background just for this. He's suspended for 6 games. So let's start there. That also pushes up Amon-Ra St. Brown's ADP, by the way. Is Jameson Williams is going to miss the first 6 games of the season. He's going to play every preseason game, according to Dan Campbell. He's practicing currently. He's with the team. He's at training camp. Apparently, he has good days and bad, are the reports that I've been reading. He looks raw, but the talent's in there somewhere. They're going to try and mine it out of him.
Has some time to.
Wide receiver. Well, he has the pedigree as well from college. Like, he was very highly, if he wouldn't have torn his ACL, and that's what people got to remember, he was in bubble wrap all of last year. He didn't even play.
Which is
tore his
ACL. Him in trouble.
Yeah. So that is probably actually what got him in trouble. But Jameson Williams for this year, wide receiver 55, translates to about 117 overall. His ADP is 117, so it's right in line with what the public is saying as well. He's a very polarizing figure. It's another one where it's like, I don't think you're going to get Jameson Williams at 117. He's either going to go way earlier than that or way later than that. And in my experience, there's always that one guy in the room. It's like, Jameson Williams is going to be the next, wide receiver 2 in the league. He's going to help me win my league. And it's like, dude, I am not holding on to Jameson Williams on my bench for 6 weeks on the theoretical chance that maybe he could be good someday.
There's no way I'm taking him in the 10th round because you said he's suspended 6 weeks. You're not starting on week 7 because you need to see something. So at best, you're starting on week 8. And then the Lions are on a bye in week 9. So you're literally
that's a good call. I didn't even think about that.
You're getting 1 start from Jameson Williams.
If you're lucky. You're getting 1 start.
If he hits his first game back. So you're probably getting 1 start in the first 10 weeks. And that's even if you're lucky, kind of. So there's no way I'm taking him in the 10th round. I like the guy. I think he has a lot of talent, but it's just you got to produce, like
maybe next year.
10th round. Yeah, 10th round is You can
Might
get
take
some
him as
guys
a throw in
in the 10th
trade
round.
piece.
Yeah.
I hate taking guys that early that I'm just going to try and dangle as trade bait.
No. I mean, coming to you. If you're trading someone away, that might be something that will push me over the edge in that period of time.
Maybe.
Week 9, 10.
Yeah, later on. Yeah. Maybe. I'm out on this at this ADP. And this is what I was saying about polarizing. Very bullish. The people that are bullish, very bullish.
Which I'm
And so
surprised that more people they're not grabbing Reynolds instead. Like,
well, hold on. Let's do that
okay,
then in
so
turn. They're the only two that have ADPs. St. Brown and Jameson Williams. I think we all agree. St. Brown, sure. Do it. Even at the current value, at current EP. Go nuts. Williams, if it was 3 rounds later, I'd be okay. But not in the 10th round. We're not doing that. None of the other ones have ADPs. Not Marvin Jones, not Josh Reynolds, not Khalif Raymond. Jason, I was a little bit surprised by this because Marvin Jones is old, so I wasn't surprised that
he doesn't have it. Yeah, that makes sense.
Makes sense. He might be a waiver target. Josh Reynolds plays just well enough to where I'm not that surprised he doesn't have an ADP, but he's the name that I would have circled. Because do you want to do the waiver? You do the waiver wire show. He was a very popular waiver wire target last year. He had a very good opening to the season when the Lions were dealing with injuries. Do you want to go through it? I'll just let you take the floor with Reynolds because.
Well, it's just there's so many different things about him. He's one of the players that is just consistently able to get a hold of a ball. I mean, week 4 is the first time I can remember having him on there. He ended up being wide receiver 9. And then it just kind of, the next week, week 5, wide receiver 19, and still was too widely available.
I think he started the breakout train a little earlier than week 4, but that it might have been week 3 where he caught the touchdown or whatever it was he did.
Yeah, and that's just people don't like him because he is just a guy, but
he's a little better than just a guy.
I know, but that's what people say because that's what they see. They only see him scoring that occasional touchdown, being that guy who's just there as part of the offense. It isn't seen a whole lot. And now this team has gotten rid of TJ Hawkinson. They're going to be missing Jameson Williams for his suspension. And then they have Marvin Jones, who's likely going to be breaking down. You can't trust Khalif Raymond. And then Jameson Williams, who we've only seen 2 games, I think, total. And he got 2 catches? Like, that's
something like that.
So you're completely lost outside of Amon-Ra St. Brown and now Josh Reynolds. Those are the 2 staples of this team. And so, if you're throwing a dart, I'd rather grab him at the end of the draft. Like, you're looking at who at the 13th, 14th round. I'm surprised that he's not being the fact
I don't
that
want to draft. I don't really want to draft Josh Reynolds, but he would be very near the top of the waiver wire for me. Because the thing with Reynolds is what derailed him last year was he had a really good start to the campaign, but then he got hurt. And that is the one issue with Josh Reynolds is that not exactly the picture of health.
But none of the players are.
Yeah, I know. But more to my point is I don't have to draft him because he's got no ADP, so I probably wouldn't. What I'd probably do is if I had a guy on the IR slot, like if I was going to take, I don't know, Kyler, for example, as my backup, throw him in the IR slot, and then I'll pick up Reynolds off the waiver wire. My thought to you is I would think that Josh Reynolds would be on your guys' waiver wire show, the 2 of you, basically week 1.
Probably. Yes. Week 1 through probably week 3 or 4 at the very least, and then worried about it being picked up too widely.
Yeah, maybe he gets picked up too much by that point.
Yeah.
Because you're not worried about Williams coming back until week 7 like Mike's talking about. So
I could see Josh Reynolds having a Zay Jones 2022 type of year. Just do I want him on my team? He's going to float around there. Do I start him? And then you look at the end of the year and say, oh yeah, Zay Jones was it was a solid player, Just like we said, who's the number 2 option for this team that's going to throw the ball 550 times? There's no clear answer here, so
It's probably Gibbs.
I can see him.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I can.
Probably Gibbs.
It probably is, which is why I'm a little more.
Which is
bullish
deeply
on
annoying,
Gibbs.
by the way, but it's
Yeah.
probably Gibbs. Reynolds is probably
Well-
a relatively close third, though.
Yeah, and he could have like a top 30 season where he's a good plug and play on a bye week or something like that.
Let's do it this way. I'll tell you here's what I think your best case scenario is for Josh Reynolds. He's 2022 Donovan Peoples-Jones. That's the ceiling. If he could do that, you'd love it. And it's the same mold. Off the waiver wire, works his way into wide receiver 3 on a team that throws a ton, and he gets a lot of deep down the field targets, and it only takes 2. He gets like 4 or 5 targets a game. They're deep. He catches 2 of them. You're good for the week. That's all you wanted. Because all you want is like 13 points.
Yeah, 60 yards and a touchdown. There it is.
That's more than enough. 60 yards and a touch. Then you got 2 catches, right? Maybe 3. 16 points. That's all you need. That's all I needed. Don't need you to be a hero here. Don't need 20s. If I need 20 plus, we're talking about Amon-Ra St. Browns and actual wide receiver 2s. But as far as something that you could find on the waiver wire, like on the scrap heap, similar to Donovan Peoples-Jones that people have just given up on, Josh Reynolds could be that guy. They profile very similarly. So we only have one position left, and it's tight end. And I'm going to let Jason do it because there's only one tight end you really need to talk about. They have a couple, but the only one that matters is Sam Laporta. I believe he was drafted. I'm sure he was drafted in this year's draft. I just don't remember what round. Was it
second round?
Second round?
Top 5 pick in the second round, I think.
Something along those lines. So they have the draft capital invested in Sam Laporta. Jason, you love weird rookie tight end stuff. Go nuts. Have at it, my friend. Tell the people why they should be excited about Sam Laporta.
Well, it's nothing super stand out, but the fact that, again, a team that throws a lot, 6'3", 245, big guy, going to be just pushing people around and being able to get open. And with Amon-Ra having the ability to separate, Laporta is going to be somebody who is probably going to compete with that with Reynolds going downfield and Raymond going downfield. So with that short area target, I would expect him to have a pretty good shot at falling in the end zone. And he could actually end up being, if let's say Reynolds does not make it the whole year, I would expect Laporta to actually have that opportunity and could be the guy who catches the touchdowns and is just that big body dude who is in your way all the time. He 35-inch vertical. He's pretty quick. I think it was 4'5", almost a 4'6", 40. At 6'3", 245 and moving that quick, that's scary. So it's just interesting to see with all the lack of a dominant other wide receiver outside of Amon-Ra. I could see him potentially falling into that mold of being the guy who actually ends up. I know everybody's saying that Gibbs is probably going to be the second, but it could actually be Laporta. And if that's the case, I kind of like that more as a big body guy. So
I
don't love it.
I do not co-sign these statements.
I know you don't. You hate the tight end. I understand.
It's not even that I hate the tight end. I specifically hate the rookie tight end. Rookie tight end historically does nothing. It's the hardest position to learn in pro football coming from college for a reason. You got to learn to block. You got to learn your routing assignments. You got to learn how to be a pro athlete. It's way too much for most people to learn. I don't care what all your physical freak metrics are. There's virtually 0 examples of people walking into the league in the NFL and actually mattering at tight end in their rookie year. It's Mike Ditka and Kyle Pitts and
Pat Freiermuth.
No, he didn't qualify really. He had a little better than average, but I'm thinking of a different guy. Evan Ingram. Thank you. It was Evan Ingram's who I'm thinking of. And then he went in the tank. So he had the career in reverse. But my issue with Sam Laporta is more this. He's ranked as the tight end 24, which would translate to 212 overall, which is undrafted. His ADP is 147. I have words for that, but they're 4 letters, and I can't say them on a PG-13 show. That's bleeping. That's bleeping stupid. How about that?
That's what it is. It's the Lions fans. They're grabbing him because they know.
It's not just the Lions fans. There's not that many Lions fans. It's not even possible that it could just be the Lions fans. That's like the Lions fans plus a whole stadium of fanboys.
The Iowa fans. Didn't he go to Iowa?
He did go to
The
Iowa. He went to
Iowa-
tight end
it's-
university. That also feeds into
yeah.
this narrative that he went to tight end university, and
he's getting a lot of hype off season.
a pile of it.
Yeah.
That's why this whole show is infuriating, because it's schizophrenic. Like, you're getting discounts at certain parts of this team because the hype train is so off the rails on other parts of this team that it's like they're just players on this team that I will never roster, and there are players on this team that I'm like, okay, well, if that's just free, then cool. It's the opposite of the Broncos, where everybody is, like I was saying yesterday, everybody in the Broncos is deflated. This is all over the damn road. This is like a roller coaster of emotions.
Well, this is just also what? That's the 14th, 5th round.
147.
That sounds right.
Possibly 13th. Here, I'll do the math. You keep going.
13th, yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean
you're at this point, you're looking at your defense and tight end already, and potentially quarterback if you're like me.
That is the end of the 12th round.
Yeah. So that's a little higher than
that's
probably
when Greg. That's about where Greg Dulcich is being drafted. I've seen Greg Dulcich do stuff. Never seen Sam Laporta do nothing. I do not like you.
Which I understand, but again, I doubt. It's just ADP. I just don't think enough people are currently drafting for, like, I'm assuming this is a rookie draft. It's what's boosting up his ADP currently.
That's draft rankings, man. It doesn't factor that in. It's pure redraft rankings. It has nothing to do with rookie drafts. It's not dynasty. It's not related to that in any way, shape, or form. Nor is it 2QB. It's strictly draft rankings. People are insane. They want Sam Laporta at the end of the 12th round. Cool. If that's the life you want to live, go nuts. I can't go there with you. If he was going at his rank at 212 and you want to take him at the end of your draft, go crazy. That's personal preference at that point. I don't care. 12th round, I'm filling out my bench. Or if you're me, I'm taking my actual starting tight end. Like, I'm not doing this. That's insane. That's an insane decision by insane people, that you're trying to play against all the percentages. And you might get lucky. People get lucky in Vegas every day. Maybe you'll roll a 7, but it's much more likely you're going to roll a 2. You're going to crap out. So the ADP is what kills it for me. I don't even hate Sam Laporta. People will listen to this and be like, Neil hates Sam Laporta. What a grumpy dick. I am a grumpy dick, but I don't hate Sam Laporta. I hate the ADP. That's way too high.
That's fair. I'm really surprised.
It's rare that logic actually diffuses the Jason brain. Like, it's reached him. I can tell he's very frustrated by this because he knows that in the 12th round that's too high.
Yeah, I can't.
Once I brought up that it's basically the same ADP as Greg Dulcich, he's like, "Crap! I have no counter move."
Why is the 24th tight end going?
Correct. That's what is blowing my mind. It's like, I'm broken.
Why do you think I wrote this on here? Why do you think I wanted to close the show with it? It doesn't make any sense. I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. Like it.
Everyone's taking their second tight end by the 12th. Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
That's just nonsensical. From a guy that runs a website called Important Nonsense. That's just ridiculous. It blew me away. It was that and the Gibbs one where I'm like, you people have lost your minds. I feel like I'm looking at the Kansas City rankings. Spoiler alert for that. We'll get into that soon. But yeah, it's completely absurd to me that Sam Laporta is going that high. I know people are excited. I know people want him to be good. And hey, maybe next year, if you want to take him in the 10th, 11th, 12th round, go crazy. But historically speaking, every single marker I have, 15 plus years of data points, tells me that is a bad idea, what you're trying to do, and that you'll probably regret it. But here's the thing, people won't learn because it's in the 12th round, so they won't actually be paying attention to it because they'll just be like, it doesn't matter. That's how we wind up in this particular Mobius strip. People don't learn the lessons of history, so it just repeats itself again and again and again and again and again. But hey, what do I know? I'm just a grumpy dick. Anyway, I'm glad that people, after I have explained this, are starting to realize that don't make no sense. It don't make no sense at all.
That math
All
isn't
right,
adding
well,
up, that's for sure.
we've beat the Lions to death, much like the Chiefs will do in Week 1. Hey!
It's going to be more fun than expected, especially if they actually allow them to
I
have
didn't
a
say that.
lion.
I didn't say it was fun.
Campbell wants that lion on the sidelines.
What,
He
the
just
real
thinks-
lion that Dan Campbell wants? Oh,
Yes,
for the
I
love
want
of
that.
God.
That sounds like an
the
awesome
insurance
day.
alone prevents that from ever happening. You'd have to take all the lion's teeth and claws out, and then you'd get paint thrown at you by PETA. It's not a good idea.
Gum you to death.
Don't let the lion. Yeah, the lion could probably still kill you with no teeth or claws because it weighs so much that it could probably just blunt force trauma murder you anyway. Its paw is bigger than your head. Like, it's a bad idea. Dan Campbell does, as an aside, as we leave, Dan Campbell does strike me as the kind of guy who thinks that he could wrestle a lion and win. Just so we're clear, like,
It would be interesting to watch though, because he is a big dude.
yeah, but he's not Hercules. Like the actual mythical. That's the only guy that could wrestle lions. That was the point.
Atlas. We don't want to go down this road.
Yeah, this show's already gone on for way too long because we wasted too much time trying to talk about Sam Laporta. Mike, final thoughts on the Lions. Jason and I have used up our time. We've gone too long.
Whenever I talk about the Lions, I always think about my dad. He's a Lions fan, and he always tells me they've won one playoff game in his entire lifetime. And he's almost 65 years old. So go Lions.
Well, Chargers have only been to one Super Bowl. So got to keep that in mind.
All right. We're not talking about the Chargers anymore. All right, folks. That's your Detroit Lions. Tune in tomorrow as we go through something that is weird. Because historically, these two shows are reversed. Tomorrow, we're going to go through the new look, rebuilt Green Bay Packers and what to make of that whole mess. It's like we're doing the shows in reverse order. Normally, the Packer show is the Lions show. And it doesn't make no sense. But until then, we will see you tomorrow and keep up the nonsense.
I'm Tim Kitzer from NBA Jam and NFL Blitz, and you can find all the guys at ImportantNonsense.com. Kaboom!